So some of you may be wondering why Nintendo is going to go to such a sense against Palworld, and what we have going on here with Palworld can actually spell the life or death of Nintendo that as you know it. And today we're going to be talking about how this $500 million studio has this massive, old, and very prestigious company shaking into their boots. Alright, so one of the first reasons why is that Nintendo really doesn't like Palworld is that Nintendo, they have a great desire to control all Nintendo products. They don't believe you own your games, your console, okay, or anything like that. Alright, it's just that unlike Ubisoft, they're just smart enough to not say the quiet part out loud.
モディでゲームを危険にさらし、コンソールを破壊する。
So that's the first reason, and that's also why they don't like fan games, because again, it feels like they lose control over their stuff or over their products. So that's the first reason, but also the second reason, which I think is the biggest one. So the second reason is that Nintendo, they're acting out of the position of fear.
What's it thinking, Colonel?
It's afraid. It's afraid!
And what they are afraid of is they are afraid of Palworld overtaking the Pokemon series. You may think this is ridiculous, but Palworld has a very similar story with what I'm going to share today that Nintendo is absolutely afraid of happening. And unlike Blizzard, this could actually spell the life or death of Nintendo as you know it. So there's a very popular game called League of Legends, but you may be wondering where such a game came from. Okay, so the original game came from a very popular mod developed by Euler. Although it was based off another mod in StarCraft, the first actual Dota or League style game actually came in 2003.
Dota. The inspiration for this map goes all the way back actually to the original StarCraft. Perhaps you guys have heard of a map called the Aeon of Strife. This is the map that really started everything. It spawned a whole genre of mods, including, of course, the immensely popular Dota map in Warcraft 3.
And this mod was extremely popular, okay? It was so popular to the point where you'd see in tournaments in like BlizzCon, okay? People were loving this so much. And then after Yule kept working on Dota, IceFrog eventually took control over it and refined the gameplay to where it is today. But then this led to creation of game studios and that created games like League of Legends and Dota 2, who were the main two that rose to the cream of the top. And these video games became massive, okay? They significantly surpass Warcraft 3, the original thing that inspired this type of game genre. Another reason why Nintendo hates fan games, because they don't want to accidentally create the next Dota off of their own games, and it can spell the life or death of their company because Nintendo, they make a lot of money off of software sales, okay? So it's not the consoles they make the most money off of, it's the software sales. Every single digital purchase that you make inside the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo usually gets about 30% cut, just as with most platforms. That it makes them a ton of money off of this. Okay, and whenever you have like some kind of fan game or something inspired by Nintendo that's actually good and released on PC instead of console, it drives away from their console sales, which again drives away from their software sales, which again hurts the biggest cash cow for Nintendo that they're afraid of losing, where this forces Nintendo to compete with a studio on an ecosystem them or a single entity cannot control, which again goes back to our first reason. Also makes Nintendo feel like they have less control over their products, which is something that they absolutely hate. And the idea with Palworld also being similar is that the concept of Pokemon with guns is not new. Okay, there are mods that done this in the past where you had people literally have Pokemon with guns, and a lot of people enjoyed it. Of course, it didn't spread around because you got Nintendo watching around everyone, but people did enjoy it. And then PocketPair, they just came up with their own thing, which again has another thing of history repeating itself. The time when Nintendo truly saw history repeating itself with what you got going on right here is when Sony partnered with PocketPair. That's when they realized, okay, this may be a next Dota, and if you don't go after factor them now, this could actually potentially surpass the Pokemon series. And you may think it's ridiculous for Palworld to surpass Pokemon, but you have to keep in mind that at the time, people thought the idea of a video game mod surpassing the original video game to be extremely ridiculous. There are some factors lining in Palworld's favor. First off, you got gamers in general, just with that becoming more mainstream compared to back then when the Pokemon craze happened. And you also got gamers spending more money on video games than compared to in the past. And also the final factor is that even if it doesn't surpass like the Pokemon series total and overall, if it steals the thunder out of Pokemon, then that in itself would also be the death of Pokemon in itself. So that's what Nintendo's afraid of. And then not only with like the Pokemon series, but also with other video games where studios could see it as a strategy to copy the game mechanics and be more inspired from their video games to further drive away console sales, that Nintendo is afraid of even more. Because they simply cannot sue a larger studio without risking a massive patent litigation war, okay? And that would absolutely destroy Nintendo if you have with what's going on with Palworld happening to Nintendo. Because the only reason why people buy Nintendo consoles is because of the video games. And when the video games are kneecapped, then people will not buy their consoles. So that's the main reason why Nintendo is willing to go to such extents against Palworld and PocketPair. If you want to ask my opinion on the case, just at least with Nintendo, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I think this makes them the biggest hypocrites when it comes to IP stuff.
Really, Mon? This brother must be yamming a ton of shit thinking he can take one brother's ideas as his own, then sue others for it. Get him out of here.
Because they're using other people's ideas to sue other people for them. Because, again, just at least a Blizzard, they're the first ones to use one of the patents that Nintendo has way before them. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's for a whole another video in itself. Anyways, don't forget to like the video and have a good day and take care.